Looks like I'm live, so I'll get started here. You kind of might have seen the title coming in, but I am going to do some streaming here of something called Electron. And let me go ahead and switch to my computer here. But what I want to do tonight is my blog. Getting started with Electron and Visual Studio Code. So, a little backstory. I get a lot of visits to my blog about Electron because I did a series of just little posts back about a year ago. And I didn't really know much about Electron. Visual Studio Code had just come out. So I just was like, hey, this is something I could dig into and learn a little bit about. Turns out it's pretty cool. So I wrote a series of posts, and this is probably one of my more famous ones. Not famous, but visited, I should say. So people find it a lot on the internet when they're getting started with Electron. The only problem is that a year later, Electron 1.0 has come out, and a lot of stuff has changed. Now, I haven't done a lot with Electron recently, but I thought it'd be good to create like a little live stream of updating this thing, not actually writing out. I don't want you to have to watch me write out the blog post, and I'm not sure I will, but just given that original post, what's changed, and how does it hold up if I try to do similar things right now? Can I actually get started? There's really not much here. It just kind of talks about setup and stuff like that. There are some things that I would do completely different now, I think. Back then I had absolutely no experience with NPM, really not much with Node, nothing like that. So now I've got a little bit more, not a whole lot, but a little bit, and I guess I understand things a little bit better. Yeah, so let's see, what's step one here? I looked at it, setup. So I was manually setting up the deal here, installing Electron. That's kind of a little bit dated now. You can still install Electron pre-built, just straight up and build your project from scratch. But if you go to atom.electron.io, I guess what it is? No, electron.atom.io. Yeah. There we go. They're getting started. They do have the, you can still do the pre-built thing, but this Git Clone of their quick start is probably the best way to get started. So let's just go ahead and create a folder here. Okay. Well, we'll call it, we won't call it Electron. What do I like? We'll call it something Hudson, which probably not a good name for it, but I like using names of gargoyles. So, and I'll just open up Git Bash here, and we will do this Git Clone exactly as they say. So that'll pull down Electron Quick Start, and you can see it's in there. Boom. Now I'll probably rename this to source, just because I don't like Electron pre-built. I presumably push this then to a different repository or whatever. So that pulls that down. Now if you cd to source, because I did change it to source if you saw me do that, you do npm install, I think. And it should go out and download the dependencies. And that's what it's going to do now. So this is a lot faster to do than what I was doing before, which is creating out the whole folder structure and creating the version and all that kind of stuff. Now, one thing I could have done instead of opening up Git Bash like I did, and since this was with Visual Studio Code, is to open up this folder with Visual Studio Code. And I don't know if you've noticed in recent editions of this, there's now an integrated terminal right here. So I could have gone in here, and I'll actually switch over to this. So that's all done. Oops. And I could do cd to source, and I could do npm start in here. So you can see it's basically just an actual thing. And so you get this lovely and baseline project, giving you everything that you think you need. Oh, I guess I've got some updates going here. I'll just do that later. Now, what do you get in the source folder? The node modules folder, when you do npm install, that's what downloads to there. They probably have it in git ignore already for you. Hey, you got your node modules. The other thing you're going to want to do here, and we'll come back to that actually, you get your index.html. So this, of course, is where your application view goes essentially. So, if we wanted to say, hello, my life for the code, you could do that. And we go down here to npm start, and boom. You can see there's what you're getting. License, this is just your Creative Commons universal thing. I think you could probably just delete this since it's Creative Commons. There's no attribution or anything like that, I'm pretty sure. But don't quote me on that. I'm not a legal advice counsel. We'll close this integrated terminal. In Visual Studio, or in Electron, there's basically two processes, or two types of processes. There's the main process, and then there's the renderer process. It used to be called the browser, and I think they still sort of refer to it as the browser and the renderer, which was really confusing. The browser was kind of the overarching thing. The renderer was for just a particular tab on the. We never got what? I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, that was my wife. So anyways, the browser was kind of the overarching application, and the renderer processes were just individual, views or whatever, tabs like you would think of. Now everything, the main process and all renderer processes run in separate processes. So it is all inter-process communication. If one breaks, the whole application doesn't come down. That's basically it's Chrome's architecture, because it's built on Chromium. It's essentially you take Chrome and you take Node.js and you just kind of go put them together, and that's what you get. You get Electron. So it's pretty neat stuff. So you can see in here it's nothing too fancy. One of the things that's changed from the original article that I wrote on this, which did I close that? Okay, here is that before you just say require app. Well, now they basically namespaced the thing here, so you can see you require Electron, and then in that you have app. So that's different from the way that it was when we first set that up. But otherwise, you get browser window. That's the thing that you create. That's the renderer process. You hear what they're doing is in a create window. You make a browser window. You load in the index.html right here. So, yep, just uses some string interpolation or whatnot there. Opens up the dev tools. What that is we'll bring this up. npm start. That's what you see here. It's basically the developer tools that you get in Chrome normally. If you were to hit F12, here, it's the same thing basically, which is really, really handy to use because you can, what's kind of cool is Visual Studio Code even keeps this in theirs, I believe. Let me see, toggle developer tools. Yep. So you can see, you can actually walk the DOM within Visual Studio Code, which is pretty cool. So, although there's a lot of just scripts and stuff in here, but yeah. So you can do that within code. I've never actually tried to see what it looks like when you switch it to like an iPhone 5. It looks pretty wonky. But anyways, presumably, yeah. So that's the developer tools. What else we got in here? Yeah, when it closes, it just sets that to null. On ready, create window. When they're all closed, quit. So if you don't do this kind of a deal here, what happens is that you've got the main process sitting out there, and you've got all these browser windows up. Well, you close all the browser windows, this thing's still sitting here. So you have to close that out and quit. Yeah, and there's some differences between OS X and that it does here for you. Package.json, obviously this is stuff you'd want to update. This is just metadata about your application. I'm not really sure, like npm start. So this is, yeah, integrates with npm, has your development dependencies. It's your package.json. If you're familiar with doing Node.js development, or it's essentially the same kind of thing. And you can see there's Electron pre-built, which is what I was getting manually before. Yep, just some information about it. So you can probably pretty much discern everything from the README, which I'm going to delete because I don't want the README. And then the render.js, that's just getting included by your index.html. So there you go. So that pulls everything you need down. Let's see what we've covered so far. Yep, we got that. Yep, let me get rid of this whole thing here. All right, so the next thing that was in this is that I had in this is how do you get it to configure to run it, because by default, if you try to run at least in whatever version I am now, they might change it. Visual Studio Code was pretty much set up only to run certain things, and by default, like built in, you can see if I do F5, it knows about Node.js, its own extension development, and .NET Core, which I think comes as a plugin that I have. So Node.js is pretty much the only thing that it knows right off the bat. Hey, this is how I do this. So, but that's a good place to start. Now, one of the other things that I did here is there's some other cool stuff out here, but I think on Stack Overflow, I answered a question once. Oh, I got some stuff. Oh, let me see if I can find it here. You can see I've actually answered quite a few questions on it. Oh yeah, this is one of my upvoted ones that actually isn't the selected answer. So if you know whoever NX David is, I should tell him that he should accept my answer, because somebody updated it and we've been keeping it up, but this is basically how you do it. Essentially what you have to do is, if I can kind of get these side by side, you have to, let me see here, set the program to the actual main.js file. Normally, like when you first look at the Electron app documentation, what they would suggest you do is you run the whole folder, and it looks at your package.json to figure out where the entry point is. The problem with that is that when you try to pass a folder to the Node.js, like the launcher, it gets all messed up. It won't let you do it. So here you have to say workspace root and main.js. I think that should work. Now before, I also had that in like an app folder. A lot of people will put all of this stuff in an app folder, which you could do. I don't know why you wouldn't want to. Let's see, current working directory, workspace root, good. I don't think we need this. You could probably pass in environmental variables. I'm not really sure how it all works. I don't really want to play with it too much. Did I? I guess I left runtime args blank. One of the good things about putting stuff out on the internet and documenting is that if you ever need to go back to it, it's like it's a love letter to yourself later. Like not a love letter, but like a hey, you fixed this once, you solved this, and now you should go and or here you go. Here's how you do it again. You know. Sorry about that. I'm a little off. Let me see here. So one of the important things is that, but also this runtime executable. So you can say, and I already passed it over here, but you can say, hey, I want to run this particular executable as node or whatever, and that's what we can do here. Now we want to reference Electron pre-built, which let me see. Do we have to just go straight to the exe? Yeah, probably. So what you could do in here is go to Electron pre-built and find the executable. I don't think we want to use the command. I think we actually want to go into the dist and get reference Electron specifically, which is right here. So the pathing should be correct with this variable here. That's out there on Stack Overflow. Let me go back to where I was. Close that out. Go back to launch.json, which is what Visual Studio Code uses. Let me see. Environment, source maps. I don't know if the rest of this really matters. Let's see if we can do it. Okay, I did do that. Launch, good. Now F5. Please set up the launch config. I did that. Launch. Error. Runtime executable does not exist. Hudson node modules Electron pre-built. Oh. Let's try that. Oh. I know what I did wrong. I do have to put it into source like that, maybe. Runtime executable does not exist. Desktop Hudson should be source node modules. Let's try one more time. Okay, there we go. So now I can hit F5 and properly run this with Visual Studio Code. So a little bit of finessing to get it to work. But you see Visual Studio creates this VS Code folder, and you get launch.json, and you have to change out and say, whatever folder it's in. So I'm right now in... The reason why I did that is the source is actually more like your app folder or whatever. I really didn't play too good with the with the layout here. I should have just rooted from it. But anyways, ignore me. So in the source folder, it's main.json. Yeah. And then you have to give your path to the Electron executable. So that's essentially what you have to do. But as you can see, I can hit F5, launch my application. Perfect. I think, too, I should be able to set a breakpoint. I know this used to be kind of buggy, but let's see if they've gotten any better. And they did. So you can see I can step through. You can see there's the browser window that gets launched. Let me move this out of the way so you can see as I step over. Yeah. Anyways, we'll run it. Boom. All shows up. So cool. That is that. So now we've got the environment set up. So this debugger stuff it all kind of yeah, I think I replaced it with, hey, this is the way you do it, because that'll plug that into there. Yeah, so that's all really that was in that article. Now, one of the things I would do too is, if you're doing Git, obviously, you'd want to probably add Vyas code folder to your Git ignore. Which should be up a level. I'll plop that down into there. And I'm going to knit the repo. And yeah. Oops. Reveal and explore. I'll probably go in a layer and just get rid of that Git there. Delete. And should pick up. Yep, so we've got git ignore HTML. So we have everything like we'd expect. Yeah, and really, you know, if I was doing this too, you might want to put all of this stuff below the source. So this was that app folder that I had before. So if I'm just kind of playing around with it, I might delete the node modules here. Yeah, delete it permanently, go for it. Move package.js down. And yeah, so now you've got this kind of separation between like your README file, your package, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So now let's see, there might be some pathing that needs to be done. So if I do npm start, or not start install at this base level, that'll install node modules then at the root level, as you should see pop up here in a second. But then Vyas code will need to go back down. So it's not in the source, it's right in node modules. And this is also in, no, this is in source. It's not really source anymore, I would assume. Well, anyways, yeah, source, whatever. It's your app code versus the kind of other stuff. If you're going to do other scripts, some gulp files or something like that, you'd want that in that root. So let's make sure everything's still working. Yep, breakpoint got hit perfectly. Launch it. Good. So now, if you'd want to not have developer tools turn on by default, Shift L, you could just go in here and turn them off right here. So they don't launch by default. The other thing that's very common is people don't necessarily always want this default menu here. And I think the way to do that, and it's different on OS X, so if you're doing this on something other than Windows, I'm not sure I can help you. But I think on the main menu, you just kind of like menu, is it set menu, something like that? To null. I want to say it's that. It might be something different. We'll see if that breaks. Nope. So if you set menu to null, then you see the default menu goes away. So that's another kind of big deal there that people like to do kind of to set up, because that menu is, I guess, helpful if you want kind of a, you know, just kind of a scaffolded menu there for some silly reason, but I do not like that scaffolded menu there. In fact, I wish that the menu could go away and you could make this look really nice. Which I did another post. Let's see here. About making Electron look kind of like Visual Studio proper, not Visual Studio Code, but Visual Studio proper, like this kind of a shell look where you've got this kind of nice window here. And as you can see, I went from the dark one over here to this one over here. and I walk you through that. This one is updated to the latest version of Electron 1.0, and it's out on GitHub as well if you want to make it look pretty. This documentation is a little bit wacky, but I should have probably put that package stuff at the lower level. I should probably update that a little bit. But anyways, all the CSS or whatever you need to make this look like this, Electron look like this, is in there, which is pretty neat. I know that this one gets a lot of visits on my blog as well, but so that's all I really wanted to cover today. I'm sorry I haven't been live streaming as much. In fact, this was just kind of a one-off. I need to get something out there because I haven't done it in a few weeks. Again, I started a new job. I am moving. I'm selling my house. I'm living with kind of half time down at my parents' house where my new job is, and half the time at home with my family. It's a big mess, but I hope that this was maybe helpful. Please subscribe if you liked it. Please leave comments. Tell me what you want me to do. If there's some way I can help make your life better, that would be really awesome because I would enjoy doing that. Yeah, so have a good night and thanks for watching. And if I could stop the stream correctly.